Hi, and thank you for joining us. My name is Phil Rosner, and I'm a freelance contributor to Meditation Magazine. My guest today is Brendan Kane. Brendan is a digital and social media guru who has recently written two books, 1 Million Followers, How I Built a Massive Social Following in 30 Days, and most recently, Hook Point, How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World. He has worked with celebrities such as Taylor Swift and Rihanna, and his work is being praised by the likes of Mind Valley founder Vishen Lakhiani and actor and businessman Justin Baldoni. And along with all this, Brendan also maintains a meditation practice. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my guest, Brendan Kane. Hi, Brendan. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Phil, for having me and everybody that is listening or watching this. It's a pleasure to connect with everybody.
So, Brendan, before we talk about meditation, I just wanted to mention the dedication that you wrote at the beginning of Hook Point, where you say, I'm just going to read it right from the book here. You say, to those with talent, intellect, and pure heart whose voices are being suppressed or ignored, may this book be your guide to amplifying your voice, finding your power, and making a positive impact in the world. You know, I found that to be a really beautiful and powerful message. Actually, when I first read it, it sounded like something that could have possibly been written by a modern day Rumi. Would you care to expound on that message with regard to how you view the world and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so I think the way that I look at it is the world has dramatically shifted over the past 20 years. So if we go back 20 years ago, 2001, pre-social media, maybe there's 1 million content creators on the planet that are reaching the masses because content distribution to the masses was heavily regulated. You had to go through a television station, a radio station, newspapers, magazines, things of that nature. So not everybody had the ability to publish content to anybody and everybody. You fast forward to today, we've gone from 1 million content creators to 3.96 billion. That's how many people are on social media, and each one of them with a click of a button can publish content for the people that they care about most, family members, friends, loved ones, and beyond. So what that means for people that are trying to make a positive impact, they're competing with hundreds of billions of messages that are sent out into the world every day. It's very noisy. So there's a great opportunity in that it has democratized the ability to reach the masses, but it also has created a huge obstacle in that you're fighting against all of this content to get your message into the world. So there's that one side of it. In addition, there's still parts of the world, as we know, that are heavily regulated in terms of how you can share your opinion, your voice, or the things that you want to get out into the world. And we've seen many instances where social media can have a positive impact in that regard. Yet those people that again have this tool at their fingertips may not necessarily know how to maximize the potential of it, because although it's as simple as clicking a button and posting a video or an image, there is a lot of nuance that goes into actually constructing it to be successful in this world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that. So could you now please tell us a bit about how you came to start a meditation practice? Is it something you've always been interested in? And is there a specific modality or regimen that you follow?
Yeah, so I mean, I initially approached meditation from the standpoint of mental burnout and fatigue, because I suffered from that ever since I was 13 years old. I saw meditation as a tool to help with that. So that's the initial inspiration and motivation that came from it. And I can remember back to the first idea I had of it. I remember I was taking a vacation in Kauai and I was doing a long hike to a waterfall. It was like a 4-hour hike. And when you got to the waterfall, I could just sense myself kind of not with eyes closed, eyes open, focusing on a leaf, focusing on the waterfall and kind of zoning out into that meditation element. And that's where it seeded the idea into my head. Well, maybe I should start meditating. Maybe that is a key, a tool to solving this underlying issue of mental burnout. So from there, I started picking up some books, even met with a teacher one-on-one to learn more about it. And that was, I think, about 15 years ago. And, over the course of the years, I have, implemented and tried different forms of meditation. I would say the most, the one that I've used the most is really just sitting quiet. I've tried mantras and other things like that, but I just, staying quiet, bringing my thoughts back to the breath is, I think, the longest form of meditation I've done. I've also started implementing some other types of breath work. I've worked with a professional free diver that teaches the art of extended breath holds for rewiring the brain, and kind of use that as part of a meditation practice as well. So for me, I'm always exploring, I'm always experimenting and trying new things. But again, I think the one that I've really used the most is really just sitting quiet and focusing on the breath to distance the space between thoughts.
One of the guys that was featured in Meditation Magazine earlier was Wim Hof. Are you familiar with him and some of his practices?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of the breath hold kind of stuff that comes into that as well. So
yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. So you have obviously found the practice that's helped you personally. Do you find it really helps you in like particularly stressful or annoying situations in your life or business dealings, and what are the other ways do you think it's really helped you with?
It's interesting. It's definitely helped. But when you've done meditation for so long, you forgot what it's like to live without meditation. So I don't know that I have that awareness, and I don't even know how I would deal with the stress of being an entrepreneur, because it is extremely stressful and daunting to live and breathe that every day. So on one hand, I can definitively say it's helped. On the other hand, I don't know that I have enough awareness to understand how much it's helped when you've been doing it for so long.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. The way I've kind of felt that is, sometimes, as you say, life really keeps you busy, and sometimes I've dropped the practice for maybe a couple of weeks, but it's like almost like this something inside really, I say I gotta need it. It's like breathing air almost. Anyway, for many of us, Brendan, meditation and spirituality go hand in hand, and yet for others, meditation is seen basically as just kind of a tool to help us deal with the trials and tribulations of life. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's necessary to follow a spiritual path in order to make a meditation practice more effective?
Well, I don't know that I'm smart enough to answer that question. I mean, my inclination is no, but again, I am not an expert or a wizard in any of this, and nor, especially when it comes to spirituality. Again, my answer is I'm not smart enough to answer any question about spirituality and what the meaning of life is and what's out there. So I don't think it's necessary. I think probably having a spiritual presence could take you to a deeper level or drive it to a deeper meaning. But, I would hate to hold back this tool from people that don't think that they're spiritual to get into it. I think it is just that as a tool. And, I've been exploring a lot with psychedelics from a therapeutic standpoint as well. And again, I think that there's a lot of stigma around certain things like meditation and psychedelics and other things that may hold people back from exploring these tools that we have readily available to us. So for me, I would say I would love it to be, no, you don't have to be spirituality to get into these, and then see where it takes you, because it may open up some doors that want you, or that make you more motivated or inspired to explore those things. But again, that's just kind of my perspective. I'm again, I don't claim that I'm smart enough to really truly answer that question, just from my perspective.
You know, for myself as a longtime meditation practitioner and teacher, I've I've really seen a shift of consciousness where, you know, when I first started back in the 1980s, meditation was seen as something that was kind of a fringe nature, whereas today it's obviously mainstream. So, like, do you notice more of an acceptance, especially with some of your higher profile clients, or is this not an area that you would generally touch upon in your business dealings?
Definitely. I mean, you look at the success of companies like Calm and Headspace. If it wasn't wildly accepted, those platforms wouldn't work. And again, we study ads and creative all day long. It's a big part of why we're successful. And if you look at the ads of Calm and Headspace, they're not really leading with meditation. They're leading with the significant pain points that people experience in everyday life. So, and that's where I see, and what we do in our work from a marketing perspective, is how do we make something accessible to the general audience? Because the minute you position your messaging around something that's specific to a niche, you're never going to break through. And I think that companies like Calm or Headspace or celebrities talking about meditation makes it more accessible to the general audience. And you're going to see the same thing happening with psychedelics over the next 5 years. It's going to take the same transition that meditation did in a very short and a much more shorter period of time because of social media. You know, if social media was around in the 80s or 90s, I fundamentally believe that meditation would take in a stronger form in today's society and culture much sooner than it has today.
Okay. Just to shift things a bit, Brendan, you know, I think there are a number of us who have struggled with the concept of marketing at some point, as it seemed antithetical to meditation and spirituality, where, you know, marketing is seen as kind of a necessary evil in our capitalist society. And yet we've changed our minds along the way, you know, as is the case with Kevin Allerton, who's the founder of Meditation Magazine, who came to the realization that marketing is a ways and means for people to actually engage with his creation, and that this was just as important as creating the magazine in the first place, as it's flourished and obviously changed many lives as a result. So in this regard, it'd be interesting to know if you have ever thought of marketing as kind of a necessary evil in that way, or have you always seen its power to make the world a better place? And lastly, what would you say to someone who may be struggling with this concept?
Yeah, I don't like positioning it as a necessary evil. It's a tool. It's a mechanism to get your message, your product, your service, meditation, whatever you call it, to the masses so that you can have a lot of benefit. It's I've been asked this question a lot about social media, as there's so much negativity around social media. And I even did a debate at Web Summit, the largest tech conference in the world, of is social media addiction overblown? And I had to take the stance that it was. Not to say that I don't, it was just kind of one side had to pick one side, the other side and was kind of assigned. But to me, it's like, is social media an addictive tool? Yes. Are we going to all of a sudden just say we're going to stop using social media and all of a sudden the tool is going to go away? No, the tool is not going away. Marketing is not going away. So you have a choice. Are you going to learn how to use that tool to spread a positive message into the world? Or are you going to just stick your hands up and say, I'm boycotting this? Like I got approached by one of the biggest musicians in the 70s. And I'm not going to say his name, but everybody would know him. And he's like, well, Brendan, I hate social media and I want to get off of it because I believe it's destroying the world. I was like, okay, well, what do you want me to do for you? I mean, I can't help you, but what I can do is I can help you construct a strategy to use this tool for a positive way of life, or to spread a positive message. So to me, that's the way that I look at it. And you mentioned people like a Wim Hof. He has gotten his message out there and everybody knows him because he's a master marketer. That doesn't mean he is the best breath person in the world. I can point to people that I believe are better breathwork teachers, not to dilute what he's done, but he has brought breathwork. Or James Nestor with his work Breath has brought that to the world. Or you look at Deepak Chopra, or you look at The Secret, and you can say what you want, positive or negative, about any of those people, but what they've all done is mastered marketing to bring their message to their masses. And I think that, especially in today's world, people look at as virality as luck. And if you're just relying on luck, 99.9% of the time, your message is not going to take off. So again, I don't see marketing as an evil thing. I see it as a tool, like meditation is a tool to bring positive things to the masses. And that's why when you started off the interview with the dedication, that is why I wrote both of those books. Is I've spent 17 years doing this. I know the tools, I know the strategies, I know how to maximize these platforms to spread a positive message. So that's kind of the way that I look at it, and the way that we've had success in working with clients.
Brendan, as we touched upon a bit earlier, it can be particularly tough for some of us, teaching these practices, to really get a good grasp of what we really need to do with regard to self-promotion. So with specific regard to meditation and yoga teachers who may not have a clear understanding of how to go about marketing or promoting their services, would you have any particular suggestions as how they could, best go about that?
Yeah, there's two suggestions that I give. Number one, there's a big difference between needs and wants. And oftentimes when we become an expert in a specific field, we lead with what people need versus what people want. So for example, like my first book, 1 Million Followers, How I Built a Massive Social Audience in 30 Days. I'm leading with what people want. They want a large audience. They want followers for many different reasons. A lot of it is ego-driven on the subconscious level, some on the conscious level, but people want a large audience. But what I know that they need is they need to know how to test content. They need to know how to tap into different traffic sources, the psychology of constructing stories, strategic partnerships and alliances. But if I led with any of those, it's too technical. It's too focused on what I know they need. I've got to start with what they want. So when we're talking about meditation and yoga specifically, I think the largest opportunity for practitioners is tapping into the people that don't already do it, which poses a challenge, because if they're not already doing it, it's going to be a little bit harder to convince them that you're the right person or the practice. But if you start with what they need, you're going to lose them. But if you start what they want, and this is, again, a great exercise, is if you go into Google, type in the Facebook ad library, it's free, and then you type in Headspace or Calm, you can see all of the ads that they're running. And this is the perfect analogy. What they're going to do is they're going to anchor their service to, are you stressed out? Are you having a high sense of anxiety? Are you struggling to sleep at night? Well, why don't you check out this app, Headspace or Calm? It's not saying, hey, you need to meditate so that you can distance the thoughts between your brain patterns and reprogram your brain waves and touch into your deeper spiritual side. Because if you go into any of those messages, people are gonna zone out. What people are living day to day is, how do I survive this day? How do I survive stress, anxiety? So one of the tools that we give people is, imagine the person on the other side of the screen, the person you're trying to attract. Now, what is their greatest pain point? What keeps them up at night? What stresses them out? What causes anxiety? And then how do you anchor yoga? How do you anchor meditation as the solution to that? Because anybody that is listening to this or reading this, if you yourself do that exercise right now, what is the thing that stresses you out every single day, that keeps you up at night? And then just imagine somebody comes up to you on the street and says, I know you're experiencing this pain point. Would you allow me to solve that for you? What are you going to say? You're going to say, yes, I want to learn more. And that's where I think most people are going wrong in marketing, especially in meditation, yoga, but it's not exclusive to that, is with that shift in messaging. So that's one tactic that I would give you. The second one is if marketing seems daunting and overwhelming to you, go where the traffic is. Don't start it from scratch. So what does that actually mean? So you mentioned Mind Valley and our work with Mind Valley. So what does Mind Valley really do? They find world's top experts in different disciplines that don't know how to market. They don't have a huge audience. So they know how to market. Mind Valley knows how to market. So they give a platform to those people to syndicate their genius, their message to the world. So other places that you can look at is Yelp is one. If you have a meditation studio or yoga studio, there's traffic there. You can tap into it. Or you can find publications like this. Can you get into a publication and talk about your zone of genius? What other blogs or websites are out there that talk about your topic? So if marketing feels like a super daunting task, go to the people that already have built an audience and see if there's a way that you can partner with them, provide value to them to reach their audience.
Brendan, thank you so much for spending time to talk with us today, and just best wishes. And thank you so much for the work that you've done.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for connecting me to your audience. And I hope they find some benefit in what we've talked about today.
Great. Thank you.